The Oera Linda Book is an alleged ancient document that first appeared in the Netherlands in 1867. Its contents could be compared to the Old Testament Bible, although much more liberal in nature and from a European perspective. It was submitted for study by Cornelis over de Linden, who claimed it had been passed down in his family for generations. There was much debate about its authenticity at the time, though it has never been sufficiently proven one way or the other. Here, then, is a small selection of curious connections which may or may not be related to the OLB, but nonetheless may inspire you to read and study this intriguing document further. This video will be all the more profound to those who have read the OLB in its entirety. I do not make any statements or claim anything as proof. These are simply curious connections. Pause to study each article.
This place conceals one of the biggest mysteries of the modern world, the Rosable Shrine, burial place of Yusa Asaf. This board displays an information about the book Tarikh-i-Azam, written in 1729 AD by Quasar Azam Dedmari. This spot is famous as the resting place of a messenger. I have read in an ancient book that a prince from a foreign land arrived here and engaged himself in piety and prayers and became messenger of God for the Kashmiri people.
Next to the sarcophagus are two carved footprints. The marks on these are said to be the symbolic representations of the scars of crucifixion.
That tomb is Yus Asaf, is the name given to us. Some researchers have said that this name is a translation of Jesus the Gatherer, and they believe Asaf means gatherer, so Jesus the Gatherer. Others have said it means the leader of the healed.
We say Jesus, but in India and Pakistan and Kashmir and other parts of the world, he was always either called Isa or Yosef. After having lived there and breathed it for so long and absorbed it in every pore of my body for so long and researched it and seen it from that side of the world for so long, I have no doubt. No doubt is in my heart. That is Jesus in that tomb.
The king named his son Yusasif. He asked astrologers, who were experts in their art, and many of them said that this child would be incredibly good. The nobility will be great. It will bring many people to goodness. The child will not only be noble in this world, but will also be the leader of the believers in the hereafter. Then, a person named Hakim Bluhar met the prince. He was a great ascetic, pious, good man. This Hakim Bluhar taught him religion. The prince learned a lot about religion from him. 20 to 25 pages are about that fact.
And then as our Indian team got closer to the tomb of Yusuf, they found themselves in a heavily Muslim neighborhood, and it was a very tense kind of environment that they found themselves in.
They opened that casket and they basically raided it. And a lot of the documents and scrolls and important things that were in there associated with this tomb have disappeared or being held in private homes. What they've done is rip out all of the wood carvings. They removed the sarcophagus that contained all the relics. They replaced it with 4 glass walls so that now it looks like a shopping mall, you know, and they put a flimsy fake sarcophagus inside. They painted the whole thing green because that's the color of Islam, and they removed all traces of the blue.
बहुत पुरानी है, ये कह नहीं सकते हैं। हाँ, हमारे पुराने बुजुर्गों ने कहा है कि समंदर के इस पार ऐसी जियारत कहीं नहीं है, ये पैगंबर ज़्यादा है, समझे। और मिस्र से आए हैं, यहाँ पर ये क्लाइमेट, ये है ना, ये मौसम आब हवा अच्छा होने की वजह से उन्होंने यहाँ इबादत की है। यहाँ के मुसलमानों का प्यार देखा है उन्होंने, तो उन्होंने भी इस प्यार के लिए इसको वापस जाने नहीं दिया। हाँ, इनका ये इंतकाल भी यहीं पर हो गया है, ये यहीं पर दफन हो गए, बस ये बात।
So when Muslims living near the tomb insist that this is a prophet from Egypt, that could still mean Jesus to them.
In fact, it corroborates the story rather than detracts from it.
तौहीन हो रहा है ये कि अगर कोई भी फिरका ये कहे कि हजरत ईसा यहाँ पर है, ये मुसलमान के इस कुरान को तौहीन है, ये मुसलमान बर्दाश्त नहीं करेंगे। इसलिए गवर्नमेंट ने इसको ये नहीं, वो क्या नाम है उसका, गवर्नमेंट ने ये मान लिया हमें कि इसको बंद कर दो, फिलहाल लाक कर दो इसको।
They had said at the time, we're only going to be removing rocks from where the feet are, so that you have access to the feet. We don't want to remove the whole wall. So they've seen it. They know there's a body there. Yes, DNA can be recovered. If there's bones, they can get the DNA.
It doesn't matter how old the bones are?
No, we have 4,000-year-old, 5,000-year-old Tocharian mummies that they're getting DNA from regularly.
ये गवर्नमेंट के ही इजाजत से एक लेडी आई थी यहाँ, वो यहाँ से सैंपल उठाना चाहते थे डीएनए टेस्ट के लिए। अच्छा। हाँ, तो इसीलिए ये बंद कर दिया है यहाँ पर ये मुसलमान लोग जो है ये बर्दाश्त नहीं करेंगे इसका तौहीन।
I received all the approvals I needed, but at the last minute there was some militancy, and this was shortly after 9/11, and the project collapsed.
I've been doing amazing research since I started this project, and some of the stuff doesn't really hold up to much, but every once in a while you find something which is incredible. I've just come across the Bhajavidya Mahapurana, which was written in the 2nd century, and in that very respected and well-known work, King of Kashmir meets in the 1st century, just a few years AD, a fair-complected, fair-haired teacher dressed in robes who comes from the West, who describes himself as being born of a virgin, describes himself as being persecuted by his own people as the Son of God, and his name, according to this traveler, is Isa Messiah, which is Jesus in India. So it's a pretty amazing piece of evidence.
Now, in the Sami religion, which is also part of this same Finno-Ugric culture, that same god, this highest chief god, is called Raiden Atje, or I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's called by any of these names that you see here that I put up on the screen. But this is the superior god, the ruler of the cosmos.
We couldn't believe our eyes when we first saw Monica's family. Right in front of us was a living representation of the green-eyed, golden-haired people we've been looking for. They're not just fairy folk of the forest or mythical beings. They are real. We wonder what motivated Monica to publish her story.
Well, in 2006, I was at the hearings, and this witness was saying that we were no more, that Ngati Hotu had been wiped out, eaten out. Well, it was quite hurtful hearing this story, and I was sitting there and I thought, oh, hell with this. I'm going to take this through the Waitangi Tribunal and prove that we still exist. And I gave my history, the history that was handed down from Te Piki Kōtuku. And the judge at the time, which was Judge Wainwright, she put it on the internet and it went worldwide, and there was a lot of hits came back from everywhere who knew of the people of Ngāti Hotu. And it was seen by the e-local magazine, who took up the story. And from there I did my DNA with the Geographical Society DNA Registrar. And that DNA was sent to America to be analysed. And it proved that we were of Ngāti Hotu, and every bit of the history I gave at the Waitangi tribunals was correct word to word. And my DNA took me, it went to Germany, into Russia, America, among the Inca people. Now, in Peru, there's a cave there. There's painting in the caves that depict the Ngāti Hotu people being chased out and getting into their boats. But to me, from my DNA, we came straight here after leaving Peru, after being driven out.
In South America, there is plenty of evidence of native people with golden hair and green eyes. For example, the Oricano, the Paracas redheads, and the Chachapoya blonde-headed cloud people of the Andes. This was reiterated by Ngāpuhi leader David Rankin, who is quoted as saying, "Who were those red-headed, fair-skinned people who greeted our walkers? We can't deny our oral history. If we try to, as Maori, we're actually denying our history."
I took him to about 5 different sites, and so he started examining them, and what he was staggered was the tree panning in the skulls. And he says, "Oh, this one lived, this one died." I said, "How do you do that?" And he showed me how to put your finger in it and run your finger around. If there was a ridge, they lived, they survived. If it was just straight, they died. But you can imagine laying on the ground and boring a hole in the skull. But this is an old Egyptian, Greek practice, tree panning. Them all, measured them, and he took an eye tooth to England, and 18 months later he says, "No, those are ancient Celtic people living in Wales 3,500 years ago. This is where they originated from."
This is not the only genetic information that links the fair-skinned Maori to the Celts. Jean Dosset did a study on the redheads of Easter Island and found that their DNA was very close to the Basque and Welsh populations of ancient Europe. 2 more recent genetic studies have confirmed his findings. Not only did they have 16% ancient European ancestry, but they also had 8% Native American DNA.
In 1981, the government called in the New Zealand Forest Service and the Land and Survey to survey all the stonework up in the Waipua there, because they were going to clear fell. There had been a lot of pine trees planted on the western side of the Waipua, and so there was a team of 36, and I was the 37th archaeologist. We were up there for over 12 months doing the work up there, and then the initial dating came through. 2225 BC, and the Maori guy that was in charge, next day he closed the whole operation down. There was over $500,000 of taxpayers' money spent on this archaeological thing. All the findings, mapping, all the work we'd done was deposited in the National Archives in Wellington with a hold on for 75 years. And Gary Cook successfully got some of them released a few years ago, but all the carbon datings have all disappeared.
Gone.
You go back to the islands, you're not going to see the swirling, the intertwining things, you know? Where does this come from? And it's like, man, I could translate that and make it look exactly like a Celtic pattern. You know, so we had to be influenced by peoples or surroundings that were already here.
The Magyar, after kidnapping the last folk's mother of Texland, asked if he should become master over all Freya's lands and folks, and that she must approve in a firmness or be tortured to death. When later he had gathered all his chieftains around her bed, he asked ceremoniously, "Frana, since you are clairvoyant, tell me if I shall become master of all Freya's lands and nations." At first, Frana ignored him, but she finally opened her lips and spoke. "My eyes are darkened, but the higher light is enkindled in my soul. Yes, I can see. Hark, earth, and rejoice with me. In the times when all land was submerged, the first spoke of the Yule wheel stood at the top. Thereafter, it descended, and our freedom with it. When two more spokes have journeyed downward, and 2,000 years gone by, the sons born unto the folk through the fornication of the princes and priests shall stand up and denounce their fathers. All of these sons shall fall to murder, but what they will have proclaimed shall be remembered, and bear fruit in the hearts of the virtuous, like good seed sown in thine soil. Yet another 1,000 years shall the spoke descend, sinking ever deeper into darkness and blood, over thee shed by those who stand in defiance of the princes and priests. Yet there will come a day when the dawn glows red again, and, seeing this, the false princes and priests shall join forces to keep freedom at bay. But freedom, love, and unity shall encircle and protect the people, and, with the wheel of time, they shall rise from the evil morass. The light that started as a lone glimmer shall grow and become a mighty flame. Then shall the blood of the wicked flow over thy body, O earth. But thou shouldst not drink of it. In the end the toxic vermin shall feast upon it and perish. All the vile histories made up to bolster the position of the princes and priests shall be offered to the flames. Then shall all your children live in peace. When she had spoken, she sank back, but the Magi, who had not understood all she said, cried, "I asked you if I should become master over all Freya's lands and nations, and you were here speaking to another." Frana sat up once more, looked him straight in the eye, and declared, "Ere 7 days have passed, your soul shall wander about the graves with the night birds, and your corpse will lie at the bottom of the sea." "Very well," said the Magi with suppressed rage. "You can announce that I am coming." And to one of his henchmen he said, Throw that wench overboard. That was the end of the last folk's mother. We do not call for revenge, for time shall take that. But 1,000,000 times we repeat Freya's call. Watch, watch, watch.